no. Oh, thank goodness. Okay guys, so as you can see, my car was having problems started. So I ran down to O'Reilly's, and you can do this at AutoZone or a bunch of other places, had them pull the code because the check engine light came on, and they said my purge valve solenoid was bad. And so I said, okay, well, is it accessible? Can you get to it? And they said, you'll have to go check it out on YouTube. And I really couldn't find anything. I found one, it was hard to understand. So hopefully this helps out you Chevy Traverse folks that are a little DIYer, because it looks like there's only about 4 bolts maybe that you need to take off, and a little bit of patience to make sure that you're feeding everything properly. So we'll get started and see how we do. So this is the purge valve solenoid that I picked up from O'Reilly. It is a CP612 solenoid, and there's really just not much to it. It's amazing, as we all know, how something so small can create issues. There's really 2 connections. There is an electrical connection and then a hose connection, and so should only take a few minutes, but we got to take a couple things off the engine to get to it. The first thing we need to do is take off the shroud. Super simple. There is a star bit that you need to take off right here. Make sure that's loose and it can stay in there. The next thing is you want to remove the oil cap. Hey guys, quick favor. If you are finding this useful, it'd be amazing if you could maybe hit that like button and subscribe button. It'd mean a lot. Then the next thing, since the valve actually lives kind of in front of the passenger side, pretty much on the back firewall, but it's still attached to the engine, to get to it more easily and not drop a bolt down in here, we'll take off the intake hose as well. So just using a nut driver to loosen this up a little bit. 2 of them. Thanks, son. All right, now that we got the intake loose, we have to loosen up the last bolt, which is this one right here in front. It's just a 10mm. Now we can get this guy out of the way to get to the solenoid. And back there is a 10mm bolt that we're undoing right now. So this kind of looks like an erector set right now, but what we ended up doing was removing the throttle body, which is really just 4 bolts, just to give ourselves 10mm bolts as well, the same bolt that took off the intake, just to give ourselves a little bit more room to work on down here. Here is the intake manifold. I taped that up just so we don't drop anything down there. If you're not used to working on cars, do that, because what is a $60 repair can turn into a multi-$1,000 repair if you don't tape up your intake manifold. This is the old one that we just took off. A couple tips: the electrical connection, we used a pair of pliers and then just kind of gently snugged it out. And the clip on here, I'll have to show that to you, but you basically pull up there's a white clip and you kind of slide it up, and then this slides out. They don't give you much leeway to pull the tube off of this, but you kind of just wiggle this out of that tube and you'll be good to go. And this is that white clip that I was telling you about, that you actually lift it up, and then that allows this tube to be pulled out of the solenoid. And that was hard to get to with the throttle body in place, which is why we took it off. Now that I have a blueprint to go off of, I'm going to use the hardware to put this new one together like the OEM. All right, super simple, really just 4 pieces. We have the rubber grommet up here for the seal. We have the 2 rubber bushings and basically the other end of where this screws down into. So that's it. So we can start putting this sucker back together now. First thing I'm going to do, reconnect the electrical. Make sure that's well seated. Good to go there. Now come back in, seat that. The clip was great. Seat that in there. So I'm going to get it hand tightened first. Okay, so we just got done installing the new one, and I'll show that to you here in a second. But a quick tip is you can actually put this end into the block where it's supposed to go, and then you can take the bolt and then kind of thread it and then slowly go in. What we found was that was harder to get the bolt threaded. So as opposed to having this already in there and you trying to finick with it, have this kind of the bolt all the way in, and then you screw down and the bolt actually comes in here and seats this for you. So you feel like you want to push that in there, but we found that let the bolt seat this for you. All right, the solenoid is in. You can see the electrical connection right there, seated. It's kind of hard to see from this angle, but you can see it's new because it's not dirty. You got the new bolt, and how we seated that was really important. And now the moment of truth, we'll put everything back together and see if that check engine light goes off. It's time for the intake. And tighten them down. Can't forget about the first 10mm bolt that we took off. Real good there. I don't know if you just noticed what I did. Get the camera at a better angle here. There are some posts back here that these rubber grommets set into, so they're secure. These two are actually for the shroud that comes on top. So when you're taking it off, if you feel a little snugness, that's only because these rubber grommets are holding on to these posts. You can see here what I'm talking about. This is where the rubber grommets grab onto those posts. So when you're reinstalling this and everything is lining up nicely, just kind of press those down and make sure that it's seated. And now you can go ahead and tighten down the bolt and put on the oil cap, and you'll be good to go. So one final tip for us DIYers out there, make sure you check the engine bay for any spare things that you were using while you're working, so nothing will get in the way of a completed project. All right, moment of truth. And that check engine light is off. Beautiful.